200. I don't know if Matt changed that or if that was there all along or what's the deal. Because I know he said we were gonna go back to the 3 cast, so I guess I'll call it 200.
Oh, I don't know about that though. I honestly don't
Yeah,
know that.
I think I guess I'll just probably say that's what we were gonna do, and I'll
Okay.
just say it's 3 cast, and I'll say the week, right? So we're
Yeah.
August 5th. And so we'll do half hour, so we're gonna go till 9:35, and then we'll cut it off there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's jump in. We're live anyways. Welcome everyone. This is the 3 cast for the week of August 5th. I am your host, Ricky Williams, and I'm joined by
Vince Hoy.
and Matt should be back in action. He said he would be back in August, and August just started, so he's not in this week, but we'll see what happens. Now, we will be changing from Never Safe for Work to the 3 cast when the podcast gets resubmitted to iTunes.
Epic condition.
Maybe for Christmas. So we're just going to go with the 3 cast naming for this episode and carry on from there. So we'll see. Stick with us. If you want to get in touch with us, you can contact us by email at info@neversafeforwork.com. Matt's Twitter is MTWB. Vince is VWHUI, and I am Ricky_Williams1. So this week we will be talking about our thoughts or reservations for the saturation of comic book based movies and TV shows. So Age of Ultron just passed a little while ago. Ant-Man was up recently. I believe this Friday Fantastic Four is gonna be released. We know Suicide Squad is being filmed. Batman v Superman is coming up.
Deadpool.
Star
Doctor Strange.
Wars Episode 7
Yep.
in Christmas. Doctor Strange, of course, Avenger or Captain America: Civil War. And then if you go with the TV shows, there's Gotham, The Flash, Green Arrow,
Daredevil
on Netflix, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Peggy Carter or whatever. There's the new Supergirl one that's coming out or has come out or whatever.
I don't get it.
And there's new stuff being announced all the time. Like, for instance, I think there's going to be there's the Legends of Tomorrow that's going to be coming out. Basically, there's also I heard talks of the Black Panther movie.
Yep. I think they have to, because they allude to the country in the last.
Wakanda.
Yeah.
Right, and I think he's going to be a part of the whole Civil War.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget the millions of reboots of Spider-Man. We could just go on and on. Vince, let's hear your.
I think we're hitting saturation, man. Like, let's be honest here. I think the entertainment industry, as we all know, is very unoriginal and uninspired, right? Like, I mean, if you look at the last couple of years, or actually not a couple, like the last almost decade, you can pretty much look at all the top 10 movies of any given decade or any given year, and they tended to be sequels or something that's derived from some other IP, right? That's like, whether it's like another Lord of the Rings, another Harry Potter, another, all these like Avengers or whatever. So they're based on like some previous licenses. The entertainment industry, because these movies are so expensive to make, I don't blame them for trying to do this, but I do blame them for basically milking these things to death. Like, I mean, I can understand having the X-Men and then trying to put the the Days of Future Past storyline, the X-Men with the seminal arch nemesis Magneto. I can understand the Avengers about forming them. and certainly like certain Iron Man, just being the lead of that. But I cannot understand the industry trying to just shove crappy storylines and crappy heroes down our throats. For example, you look at, say, the Avengers, and the last one, Ultron, even though he's a big villain on some levels, they could have easily handled a whole bunch of other big threats to the Avengers, right? There have been other guys that have, posed bigger threats to them. Certainly with, the Captain America series. I know that for history they had to put the Red Skull, but the last one with the Winter Soldier stuff, I'm not such a big fan of that. And then even with this last Avengers, when they're trying to throw in Crossbones and all this other stuff, the fact that in they're throwing in the man, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of proved it to me. When you're trying to make the crappiest team, I thought Marvel was just trying to go prove us wrong, by putting together the crappiest, group of heroes, and just it made money. And I still can't get over this. Now that's strange, given that, we have, I know it hasn't come out officially yet, but you've heard a lot of the bad rumblings about Fantastic Four, and it's, focused on the whole thing with Doctor Doom and the origins. And I would have thought that would have done better than, say, Guardians of the Galaxy. But I mean, from the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be a huge crush. And I was kind of looking forward to Fantastic Four because it was actually looking at it from a different angle. It was not just simply the race thing. Obviously there's a huge hoopla about, ooh, Johnny Storm's black. But I'm more curious about just how they reboot it to make it more sensitive to, our kind of age and audience, right? It's not dealing with radiation from space. It's actually they do space-time, other dimensions.
To the negative zone or something.
Yeah. So, if it is the negative zone, then they're setting up hard for the Civil War, right?
Yeah.
But I think that there's a super saturation. And unfortunately, they have some really good characters that have yet to be made into comic characters. But instead, they're kind of going on the big ones that they can kind of just milk to death and put crappy villains. That I'm a fan of Batman, but I watched the Gotham series, and they're putting in crappy characters left, right, and center now, because they know that if they start shoving in the big guys Killer Croc, all the Joker stuff, they're kind of teasing them, but they know that there's only the Penguin, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, and that's about it. They once they hit the Dr. Freeze, Mad Hatter and stuff, that they're going to run it real fast. So I think that, that's just the nature of it. And unfortunately, they're scrambling. And the thing is that they really have to find ways to make the stories original. So that's why Gotham was kind of grittier, which was good. But that's kind of the way the Dark Knight is. But I like the fact that, in the Daredevil series that's out, it's going, Disney has made a smart move by going through the Netflix route. And they've made it very gritty. And they're also, did you see that they're throwing in the Punisher into it, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually
Elektra.
Yeah, Elektra. So this is actually going to be interesting, because I think that the audience they're catering to is not necessarily kids, right? It's guys like us. That's the reason why Game of Thrones was successful, because it wasn't just Dungeons and Dragons, a good knight being a good guy, killing a dragon, saving the queen or something. This is gritty adult stories, there's sex, violence, and there's stuff that's amoral and all that fun stuff. That's where I think we are going towards for successful stuff. But in the meantime, there's this ton, for every Game of Thrones, for every kind of Gotham kind of storyline, we have Drek, absolute Drek, Guardians of the Galaxy. We see, crappy retooling of, Transformers, but I know that's not superheroes, but garbage movies being made just simply because the Hollywood has got to kind of stick by some old standbys to make money. Okay.
Yeah. So, for me, it's not so much, not even the thought of the crappy movies versus the good ones. I'll talk a little bit about, I'll go back to the main topic that we're discussing, but the whole rebooting, because you brought up Fantastic Four.
Yep.
And I'm one person, I already decided I wasn't going to see it. Because here's the thing. We already seen Fantastic Four.
Twice. And
now you're gonna reboot it. I hate reboots. Can you not come up with a new story? You know, that's my problem. Like there have been decades and decades of comics, and yet still you keep rebooting the same story over and over. I mean, look at Spider-Man. You know, there was Spider-Man one, two, three, and then they rebooted and did one, two, three
Pull
again.
the plug.
It's like, come on, do a new story, you know? Now, second of all, I'm obviously black, so it's not a
To our
problem.
reader, to our listeners out there, Ricky is
Oh,
black.
right. If you're not watching the video, I'm black. I mean, it's not about a dude being black. For me, I find that lazy. Number one, the comic was written and the dude was white. Don't change it up because now you're trying to be more, you know, you're trying to capture more of an audience by pulling in black viewers. And people will say, no, they're trying to make it more
Diverse.
realistic to today's society. So then how come it is that every time they change it, it's changed to a black person? How come it's not a Hispanic person? How come it's
Because
not,
Donald
you
Trump will
know,
kill them.
well, you know, but if you look at it like, you know, Nick Fury, black, Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl, black, you know, Iris West in The Flash, black. How come, you know what I mean? So why is it that you can only change it to black actors in order to represent the difference in society, right? Like where's the mixed ethnicity people, right? How comes this kid couldn't have been a Spanish kid or a mixed ethnicity kid, right? Like
Yeah.
for that, you know, don't give me that garbage. You want to make more money? You're a company. That's your right. That's what you do. You want to make more money, but don't try to sugarcoat it and say, you know, you want to reboot it, you want to make it new, you want to make as much money as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Want more black people? Make more different characters. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'll get off that. Um, just wanted to drop
Don't
that
get him
in
to
there.
start on gender issues, ladies and gentlemen.
Um, but I mean, for me, it's not so much the fact that there's the bad movies or even the reboots. For me, it's just the fact that there are just so many shows out there, and there's more being made every day, and it's at the point, like for instance, you know, people used to read comics. You know, it wasn't cool or whatever, and now all of a sudden, with the comic book based movies, it's not only the comic fans who are watching them, it's just the general audience. Everyone is watching them, everyone is loving them. But you're going to get to a point like anything else where in a year, if 90% of the movies coming out are comic based movies, people are going to get tired of it. They're going to start, you know what I mean? Like, if you check back, it's like a cycle right there. If you look, there was a point when all the movies were, you know, car racing movies, and that started with the Fast and Furious, right? And then you had Gone in 60 Seconds, there was Redline,
That's
there was, you know,
buddy.
yeah, like there was all these you know, whether it was exotic cars or it was the car racing kind of scene, but it was overall the same, you know, it was fast cars with a certain thing to it, whether they were being stolen or whatever. And then that sort of, you know, people kind of got tired of that and they moved on. And, you know, Fast and Furious is still going, but that's because they've pivoted and they're more of an action movie with cars thrown in to sort of satisfy, you know. But going back, so for me, it's like, you know, you sit down on TV and you're seeing them, and then, you know, you go to the theaters and you're seeing them, you're gonna get tired of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you make just a handful. So you have Gotham, Green Arrow, The Flash, and then you have on the Marvel side Daredevil, Agents of Shield,
Mm-hmm.
and you take the time instead of bringing out, you know, 10 or 11 different shows, you take that money and you make the stories better of the ones you already have, or you take the money and you make the movies better that you're bringing out. You know what I mean? Like I think that would be a better route than having, okay, so we're gonna do Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and then it's gonna be, Joker and Harley, and then it's gonna be, whatever, like we have Ant-Man, and then we're gonna do Black Panther, and then we're gonna do Aquaman and the Flash. Like, you're doing 13, 14 different movies introducing all these characters. This is not like a comic book where you can introduce comic characters into a universe, because a comic book, it gives you the story, and it does give you the pictures. Yeah, but it's more about your imagination of you imagining this world, right? The movie, it's not gonna, by the time you're to build this whole universe, people are gonna move on. And as a fan, the thing is, as a fan, I like the movies coming out because, they're characters that I love. But then as a fan, I'm also worried about when it gets saturated and they don't get made anymore, right? So yeah, that's my feeling on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all these kind of movies coming out, like I think that one of the interesting things is, and maybe this is a little bit of a side topic, but there's a lot been said about like movies being put, like especially with the superhero movies, put on TV, right? Because let's be honest here, comic books tend to be stories that are short arcs that kind of like, okay, who's the villain of the month or whatever, right? Or what's the story arc this time, right? And maybe you save the movies for those big like epic things where it's like Civil War.
Yeah, like the huge arcs.
Yeah, but I don't think they're doing that right now, and it's really a shame because, like, again, I point out like the way like more and more people are cutting their cable, right, and going to like Netflix and all.
Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I can imagine, and then people are saying that simply because like HBO and Netflix, they're actually producing some really good independent programming, and I think the studios have seen that. Like, certainly Marvel/Disney have seen that. And I think that as we move forward, you're going to probably find that that's the better model to operate, where you introduce the baseline characters, all the basic stuff in the TV shows, and then launch. Because I think that's probably what's like. I look at that from a Daredevil perspective, right? Or even Supergirl, or even Green Arrow, right? Like, I know that all these guys are kind of secondary characters. No offense to fans, right? But then maybe when the kind of Civil War, when the Justice League starts forming, then they can come in and it'd be like, hey, the audience knows their stuff. And if they didn't, guess what? We got seasons of DVDs that you can watch or something, right? And I think that makes sense to me. And then it makes more oomph to the movies, right? Because right now, like, my buddy at work was like, hey, man, you want to go see Ant-Man? And I was like, no, because it's a Marvel movie, but I'm not really keen on that,
character.
Right?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I mean, I have to give it to them because, like you, I was thinking the same thing when they brought it out. I was kind of like, I mean, yeah, I know, Hank Pym, he made Ultron, whatever, but
apparently not anymore.
Well, you know what I mean, in the comics. Yeah, but when they brought that out, I was just kind of like, it's not really a character that I'd want to go and see, right? But I got to give it to them because when they did the trailer, they did make it like, I saw the trailer and I was like, that actually looks pretty good. Like, I'd go and see it, right?
I thought the exact opposite. I saw that trailer and I was like, so the whole final scene ends on them playing in a kid's room on a train set. And I was like, like we saw in the previous movie, the movie just before this, the Avengers, where it was Ultron dropping an Earth cataclysmic asteroid or like chunk of Earth to cause the destruction of mankind. And now, we're going to have a fight on a little girl's bedroom or something, right? I mean, I was like, geez, man. You trying to do that? You fooled me once with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not again, man.
Yeah. But on a side note, kind of like what you were talking about before, where you have the sort of smaller players on the TV, on the small screen, and then when you have the major movie, you can bring them in. And like, for instance, the rumor is that Batman v Superman is going to introduce the Flash and Aquaman. And my thought on that, because it's an interesting thing, kind of getting away from what we're talking about. But anyways, is who do they use? Do they use, the actor who's on the TV show playing that character? Like, for instance, The Flash. Like, do they use him, or do they use, a bigger name, right? Because it causes disconnect, right?
Yeah, they would use I think they would be smart and use the character from TV. It would make better sense from a legacy standpoint. You don't get as much fan backlash, which is a huge issue with nerdy guys. Like, I mean, come on, let's be honest here, right? And quite frankly, I think that you don't have to have entire casts of superstars, right? Like, if they had the Avengers, well, actually they did. The Avengers casting was so damn expensive that it became one of the most expensive movies to produce, right? Not including the special effects, but just like the sheer salaries that
Chris Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Renner, Johansson.
Yeah, like there's no B-list actor there. Maybe Hawkeye, but that's about it. But like, I think they can't sustain that, right? Like, and that's why I think that it'd be smart for like Justice League, even though none of those characters are really big name. I mean, except for maybe Ben Affleck. But like, honestly, Superman, that dude is not a big name. Okay, I don't know who, Henry Cavill or whatever, right? I know his same name, right? But he's not a huge name. They're going to have a good ensemble cast, and quite frankly, it's going to be about the story. Let's focus back on the story, right? That's why Civil War is interesting to me, but that's why the Avengers wasn't very interesting to me, because it was just a crappy story, and like, it was so disjointed. The actors were like just kind of floating in their own little sides. That's where you got too much stuff going on, and it was just really a crappy story because they couldn't put it all in one sitting. Yeah. That's why I worry about Civil War.
But see, then that brought up to me the thing, right? So like, if you bring that character from the TV show into the big blockbuster movie and it does well, do you then price yourself out of the TV show, right? Because it's the same thing, like, for instance, shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, and they won't get Robert Downey Jr. on there because he's just...
Well, they have Samuel Jackson,
right? Well, I know they have Samuel Jackson, and I mean, the guy who plays Coulson is on there like all the time. But Chris Evans, have you ever seen him on there? No.
He'll make an appearance.
Downey Jr. Yeah, but up until now, no. I mean, look, if you look at it, Thor. Who have they had on there? They've had Jamie Alexander, who plays Sif, right?
But yeah,
which is like, I mean, I'm a fan. I watch it too, but I mean, she's in the blockbuster, but it's not like she's Thor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, once you take them to the big screen, do they then come back and say, well, now I'm on the big screen, everyone knows my name, so you're going to have to start paying me this much per episode. You know what I mean? I wonder if that's a consideration.
No, because let's be honest here, the producers know they have an exit out, which is basically, it's a comic book. So every single comic book hero has died. So they'll play that final story.
Just kill you.
You want Henry Cavill? You want to go make an appearance? Oh, you want more money? Okay, Doomsday, right? Oh, you want Hugh Jackman, you want to work? Oh yeah, Death of Wolverine. Like, bam, done. Right? Every single character's died, right? So,
yeah.
Like Ben Affleck, you want? Oh, okay, Nightfall, done. See?
All right, well, there you have it. Those are our thoughts on saturation. We both think that it's coming, and I don't know. I'm hoping they slow down, but I doubt they will, because they're just...
You know what's going to slow down, man? After the fallout from the Civil War, and because the Civil War and the Justice League will kind of come out around like a year and a half apart, and I think that's going to mark the burnout period, because it's too much. Remember in the old days? I know no one really remembers this, but you and I do because we're old. Remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger was in every damn movie in the late '90s? And then people just got sick and tired of him, and then he just like, I'm going to run for governor instead. I'll show you, right? And like Last Action Hero,
I think that was
Eraser.
Like
Sorry,
I think that was like the last one.
No, he had a whole bunch of them. Like I remember the one with Vanessa Williams. I watched it in theaters. It was like him and Vanessa Williams. There was a racer. There was another one where he was.
I know. I mean, like he did the Terminator. Then he did what's that Mars one? They just redid. Oh, Total Recall.
Yeah.
And he did Last Action Hero, and
You did something with Sylvester Stallone too. I remember that because
yeah. I was going to say Judge Dredd, but I don't think.
Yeah, he did Judge Dredd too.
And he did the one with.
Oh, no, that was
Jamie Lee Curtis. Sorry? Yeah, the one with Jamie Lee Curtis.
True Lies. True Lies.
Yeah, True Lies, but then after that, it was like you never heard about him again until Expendables, right?
Yeah, because
it was just
burnt out.
Yeah. But anyway, so. Next week, we will be talking about staying in the theme of comic-based movies. Should the actors playing the comic-based characters be fans or at least readers of the comics? So yeah, we will talk about that next week.
All right. Take care.
All right. Take it easy.